So I'm going to do something that I'm very passionate about, and that is defend the younger generation, defend the kids, especially Gen Alpha, because I am so sick and tired of the older generations just sitting there hating on young kids and young people, bad-mouthing them, trash-talking them just because they don't understand them. And I'm going to be defending Gen Alpha, but just to be clear, hating on the young generation is not something that's unique to Gen Alpha, even though I feel like they're getting the worst of it of any generation so far. But back in the day, the boomers would hate on the Gen Xers. They'd call them lazy, slackers was a term they used for, apathetic, don't care about their future. And then those people, the Gen Xers and boomers, hated on millennials, and then Gen Z got hate and called them soft, and all you do is drink lattes, and now it's Gen Alpha's turn to get hated on. And as someone who works closely every day with kids of all ages from Gen Alpha, I feel like I'm qualified to defend them against these attacks that the old heads like to throw against them. And I really feel like it's because of like 3 or 4 main reasons. And honestly, I think the first one is that the older generations, and even millennials to a certain point, even though we're not really that old, they just don't understand the technology that the kids have nowadays. Like, Gen Alpha grew up with technology. They're the first generation, because even some Gen Z people, it was before the internet took over and smartphones and stuff like that, but Gen Alpha was truly the first generation to grow up with screens all the time. They had their iPads, social media, and TikTok, as you know, smart devices in their house, everything you could think of. They had it from birth, and that's obviously going to make you different. And obviously technology is a huge thing that old heads hate on. I remember when the TV first came out, everyone thought it's going to rot your brain. Oh my god, it's like every piece of technology. Video games are so bad, computers are so bad. Every single piece of technology has been hated on and not understood by the older generations. And this has led to them saying that you're always on your phone, you don't go outside, you have no attention span, etc., etc., whatever you can think of. They just hate on them because they're on technology all the time. And if you think about it, the boomers are also on their phones all the time. Millennials are on their phones all the time. Gen Z is. Everyone is. Whether you're scrolling Facebook, playing Candy Crush, whatever it is, every single person that exists nowadays is constantly on technology. It's not just unique to Gen Alpha. It's everyone. The boomers can sit there and say, you play your video games and your smartphone and TikToks while they're sitting there scrolling Facebook for fucking 15 hours a day. So it really just rings a deaf ear to me. And honestly, a lot of the kids are very conscious of screen time now. And as a teacher who, some of the kids that I taught are all the way up to 8th, 9th grade at this point now, even the 4th and 3rd graders are conscious of screen time, like taking breaks away from their phone, and they know that being on their phones for that long is not a good thing, and they talk about their screen time to one another. So this is something they're very conscious about, which is something that the old heads do not ever talk about. They just say, oh, they're just addicted to their phones, that's all they care about, or their iPads. But no, they understand the amount of time they spend on it, they want to take breaks from it, and they understand how addicting this technology actually is, which is something that even, millennials and above do not comprehend, because they're the ones that are the most addicted. And then when it comes to the toddler age Gen Alpha kids, I don't even know if they are Gen Alpha at that point, but the younger, really younger ones, the 5 and unders that throw the temper tantrums, that are addicted to their iPads, that's not their fault. That's the parents' fault. That's the millennials' fault that are raising them, or the Gen X if they're really old. That's their fault. It's not the kids' fault. You need to point the blame at the bad parenting, because honestly, that is something that's a travesty. Is a ton of people from my generation, millennials, are horrible parents. And it's just what it is. They don't want to deal with their kid, and they just shove a screen in their face at a young age, and that's not the way to do it. But again, that is not the Gen Alpha person's or child's fault. That is the adult's fault. So overall, I think the first point is a lack of understanding of technology and just casting blame on things that they don't understand. The second thing that I hear all the older generations say about Gen Alpha is how soft they are and how they don't go outside anymore, and I used to drink from the water hose and they don't anymore. And honestly, a big reason why they don't go outside anymore is because they're being watched 24/7, 365 by their parents. Now more than ever, the level of overprotective parents is unheard of. Like back when I was a kid as a millennial, or as like, some older Gen Zs or Gen Xs, your parents just let you go out on your bike and you just had fun, be home at dark. You weren't tracked like with Life 360 and all this stuff. So it's hard for kids to go out and actually do things outside like we did because we are so overprotected. We don't let them branch out. Now, obviously, for a young elementary school age, it's a good thing to, keep tabs and stuff. But once you hit like 4th, 5th grade, middle school, and things like that, the leash needs to be extended a little bit and let them live their life. Don't track every single thing they do. But that is a huge reason why they might seem soft or that they don't go outside anymore. That's because they're just not allowed to, and it's not their fault that they can't do that. But the other thing as well is that electronics are just really fun. It's what it is. People want to act like if they were born now, that they would be the outlier. They would say, oh, well, if I was a kid now, I'd be outside 24/7 doing the same things I did when I was a kid. And that's just flat out a lie. Video games are fun. Smartphones are fun. Computers are fun. Just like me, as a video game fan, I don't like Fortnite. But I can look at it and acknowledge that if I was a child now, I would probably play Fortnite because I have all these crossovers and everything, and I can see why there's the appeal to it. So all these people, if they were growing up, they would be on technology just as much as the kids are, and they would be inside playing video games, on Discord calls, in chat rooms, and all that stuff that the kids are doing now, and they just don't want to admit it. So that is a huge reason why. It doesn't mean they're soft or anything like that. It's just overprotective parenting that doesn't allow them to do that. And not to mention the fact that this is just not true for the most part. There are tons of kids who are fully invested into playing sports, going outside, having fun, watching sports, all you can think of. Like, for instance, Christmas is coming up, and I always ask my students, what are you looking for Christmas? Obviously, there's a ton of electronics on there, but a bunch of kids are saying, I want a bike. I want, some football equipment. I want baseball things. I want basketball stuff. Because they play sports outside. A lot of them just do the same things we did as millennials, which is a combination of both. Like back in the day, we would have our LAN parties for Halo 2 and play Halo 2 or Smash Brothers or whatever it is, but at the same time, we'd be going outside, playing basketball in between, skateboarding. They do the same stuff, and this whole narrative that Gen Alpha kids do not go outside is just bullshit. It's honestly just a big lie. Now, do they go outside to the same extent that we did and the older generations did? No, because there's far more things to do inside that can grab your attention, but every single kid still plays outside. And this myth that they're just basement dwellers that never leave the cave is ridiculous, and I would love for that narrative to end, honestly. The third thing is that we and older people do not understand the future, and they're scared of the future. They don't understand the things that the kids have going. Just like when we were in school. What did we hear all the time? The teacher say, you're not going to have a calculator in your pocket. Now we have all the world's knowledge in our pocket. AI is here, smart devices are here, and people just don't understand it, and they always say the phrase that this generation is going to ruin the world, but when you think about it, it's really the boomers that are currently ruining the world, hoarding all the wealth and all that stuff you can think of. They're the ones making the horrible decisions that are putting millennials, Gen Z, and the future Gen Alpha in these horrible situations. They're the ones doing this. They're not going to ruin the future. You guys are. But the biggest thing is, it's just they're scared of change, and when you don't understand things, you're going to obviously hate on it. And like I said in the beginning of the video, this is something that has always happened. every single generation gets called lazy and useless and all this stuff because they are scared that they are going to lose their jobs and their place in society to the new up-and-coming people. Just like us. Millennials are now the prime workhorses of the world. We're in the prime of our working ages, and a lot of the older generation lost their job and lost their seat to the younger generation. So of course they see Gen Alpha with AI and all this new stuff coming around. They're going to hate on it, and they're going to be scared of it, and the only way to deal with that is to just just to trash talk it and speak down and say how dumb everyone is. They're not as smart as me, even though they probably are smarter than you. It's a groundbreaking thing, but I guarantee you, if you give a smart device or any new upcoming piece of technology or software to a young person, they are going to be able to use it far better. Just like with AI. I do not know a single child that is 3rd grade or up that does not know how to use ChatGPT or whatever AI to the full extent. They almost know how to use it better than I do, which is pretty insane to me at such a young age. So of course you're going to be sitting there saying AI is going to, change the workforce, and be worried that the young generation coming up, because there are some older Gen Alphas that are, in high school now, I'm pretty sure, they're going to be entering the workforce soon, and they're worried about it. They don't understand it, so what they do is hate on it. So all in all, I just wanted to make this video to defend Gen Alpha and defend the kids from these never-ending attacks of the news that over-sensationalizes things, that say how demonic children that can't behave, they're addicted to their screens, don't go outside, sensationalize the bad, and never talk about the good. Because every single generation growing up had bad apples that misbehaved, did dumb stuff, did really bad things. But 99% of the kids of all generations are fantastic kids. They're some of the nicest, hardworking kids you'll ever meet. Caring, compassionate, hardworking. And I hate seeing this generation just get beaten down over and over again by endless attacks, hating on the kids. And as someone who works with them 5 days a week, that gets to know them on a personal and a intelligence level, because I work with them as a teacher, I hate the rap that these kids get, and I just wanted to make this video to defend them, because they do not deserve the hate they get. 99% of Gen Alpha are some of the best kids you'll ever meet, and they have such a bright future and are going to be fantastic when they're older as adults.